Good afternoon. Welcome to this week's edition of Entrepreneurship Matters. I'm Alicia Wilson, Vice President for Economic Development for Johns Hopkins University and Health System. And it is my pleasure to welcome you to another conversation, our 49th conversation with two amazing entrepreneurs giving their insightful stories. I'm going to invite Mallorie Malloy-Coe as well as Angela Kidane to the screen as I just give you their bios and tell you why I am so honored to be able to talk about children today and the impactful work that they're doing in this space. So what we know is that successful businesses, like successful entrepreneurs, are not built in a day. It takes a lot of hard work, multiple failures, a lot of successes, and a lot of grit to make it happen. We started this conversation at the urging of an amazing young entrepreneur, Cameron Moses, who thought it would be inspiring to hear the stories of entrepreneurs. And today is no different. When I give you these women's bios, you will realize that this is, I feel like, my Oprah moment. I get to interview two superstars in our community and watch how rich this conversation will be over the course of the next hour. So let me first introduce you to Mallorie Malloy-Coe. She is the grateful visionary and CEO of Inheritance Academy. Born in Brooklyn, New York, spending her early childhood in Columbia, South Carolina, Mallorie experienced childhood trauma, abuse, and poverty. By the age of 19, she moved to Baltimore, and Baltimore became her permanent home, and we are blessed to have her here, and the source of her vision as an educator, entrepreneur, and early childhood leader. Her personal and professional experiences have contributed to her passion to opening Inheritance Childcare Center. Many of you may have ridden past it or put your kids in it in the Northwood area of our city. Over the past decade, she has grown her business and impacted our community greatly through education and nurturing care. She has started in Northwood, but then has expanded her business. We'll talk about that to two locations from the ground up, and found a 15,000 square foot building in the second district. And through innovations and the like, opened her academy in 2019. And she is an employer of over 24 educators and support staff who understand the importance of their core values. One you can see behind her, #SEED, but support, education, empowerment, and dedication. She also inspires other entrepreneurs and coaches them, childhood educators who need her and want to leverage her experiences, resources, and the like. She is a beacon of resources and support and hope for the Baltimore region. And in addition to caring for everyone else, she cares for her husband and her family, her husband, Keith, aka Mr. Keith. I think you put a handle on everybody's name when you're in childcare, right? And her three beautiful children, Malachi, Michaela, and Kylie. And you've all had this saying, if it's first you don't succeed, try and try again. And she wants everyone to really have faith and know that they will indeed succeed. Thank you. It's a pleasure to have you here, Mallorie. I'm really excited to interview you. Our next entrepreneur is Angela Kadani. She is a social entrepreneur who is the co-founder and CEO of Scarlet Covering, Inc.'s KidzStuff Childcare Center, a nonprofit organization that serves families with children in our area. KidzStuff mission is to provide the best foundation from children from birth to 5 years through a Christian education with a focus on closing the school readiness gap in the Baltimore metropolitan area. She is responsible for the consistent achievement of KidzStuff Childcare Center's mission and vision and strategic goals. Over the past 9 years, she is almost a decade old. Her team has grown the center from 41 families weekly to more than 100 families weekly, while employing more than 25 people from our community. That's a cute, both of you. That's 50 people from our community that are employed with your two businesses. I mean, tremendous. She, in 2010, she left her executive project director position in corporate America. Loved it. I know many people are wondering about that. To pursue becoming an independent government contractor with teenage parents to prevent second unplanned pregnancies. And after two very broke years, she had a meeting with the former owners of KidzStuff and purchased the center for $1. a bargain, right? Maybe. And then has built it into a huge business and expanded greatly. She is a proud graduate of the Coppin State University and is a graduate of the 10KSB program at Johns Hopkins, a cohort 2018, best cohort ever, right? And she is currently pursuing a degree in early childhood education through the Maryland State Department of Education. Again, welcome to both of you for this edition of Entrepreneurship Matters. So we're going to jump right into a question about what inspired you to become entrepreneurs, and especially in the space of childcare, because you can be an entrepreneur in many different spaces, but childcare. I'm going to start with Mallorie because your bio gave us a glimpse of your early life, sort of maybe fostering some of this. So can you tell us what inspired you to be an entrepreneur in the childcare space?
Well, I was inspired to be an entrepreneur by many of my childhood experiences. So as a young child, as you read, I did experience lots of abuse, sexual abuse, molestation, and I was cared for in my early years by relatives who were not my parents. Um, and I lived in Columbia, South Carolina. It was a very traumatic childhood. At the age of 12, however, I moved to Brooklyn, New York, and my birth mother passed away when I was 12. At that time, I was cared for by aunts who were also entrepreneurs, and they instilled in me the, knowledge and wisdom and joy of what entrepreneurship would be like. So, my first my first job actually as a 14-year-old was in Brooklyn, New York as a summer youth employee, and it was in a child care center in Brooklyn, New York, where quality care was at its best. A love for children was there. And so that was what initially inspired me to open up a child care center, wanting to provide a place where parents felt supported. And to be honest, most people go and they say that, their love for children. I do love children. Anybody watching this or listening to this knows that children are my life. But I was more so inspired by the idea of providing a safe haven for children and a support for parents who didn't have the type of support that they need to ensure that their children were properly cared for.
Yeah, and I think your story, just what you and I appreciate you sharing your story with us. And
No.
I think that hearing what inspires people, one, like you took pain into purpose, right? And you also,
Absolutely.
from what you just said, you are exposing young people to what might be their destiny, so critically important. Your first job really being a catalyst for where you are today. I think just two powerful statements. And we're getting a lot of, I know people are, I forgot to tell people they could participate in this conversation on Facebook in the comments, on Zoom in the chat, and also by texting 22333 to JHUWL. But y'all are already doing that, so I don't have to remind you again. But you're getting a lot of shout outs and just high fives and praises for sharing your story and that inspiration. And so, for you as well, what inspired you to want to be an entrepreneur in the childcare space in particular?
So I come from a family of entrepreneurs. My dad is an entrepreneur. My mom was an entrepreneur. My siblings are entrepreneurs. It just seemed like we just weren't meant to work for anybody else. And so I didn't start out wanting to be in early childhood education. As you read in my bio, I really wanted to work with teenage parents to prevent second unplanned pregnancies after my experience of working with TANF recipients. A woman walked into my office. She was in her 40s. She had a 16-year-old and she had a 2-year-old, and the 16-year-old had a child. And if anybody knows anything about TANF, your child ages out at 18, so the benefits stop. So she had another baby, and then her 16-year-old had a baby, so that the TANF system can continue to pay. And at that moment, it just was a breaking point. Like, I'm not making a difference here. I really want to stop this generational process of dependency on the TANF system. And so I really launched out to go, okay, how can I work with teenagers to get away from the TANF system Well, anybody knows if you ever try to apply for government contracts on your own, unless you have money in the bank, they're not going to give you a contract. I learned that the hard way out there after quitting my job, thinking like, I'm going to go be an independent contractor to the government. It didn't quite work out that way. And so I ended up in childcare because somebody brought this center to my attention. I knew somebody who knew the former owners. I didn't know whether it was set for sale. I didn't even know the center existed. We contacted the former owners, and it, in fact, was for sale. And I came and met them like thieves in the night. Nobody even knew they were selling it. Nobody knew it was on the market. I met with them, and they were like, okay, we found a buyer. But at that time, I was completely broke. My car was parked in my parents' driveway. I had no money. My house was going into foreclosure. I had nothing, but it was a nonprofit organization. And again, I didn't know anything about these rules, but a nonprofit needed to sell to a nonprofit. Well, I had co-founded a nonprofit agency. And so that's how I ended up purchasing the center. And that's how I got into early childhood education. And I love it. I absolutely love it today, but this is not what I wanted to do. I really wanted to work with teenage parents to prevent second unplanned pregnancies.
Wow. Hold on. So you have gone twists and turns and started from the bottom. And so I think, I want to continue with you because I want to ask this question to both of you, but I want to pick up where you just left off, which is how did you go from, right? You have a friend tells you about this business that might be for sale, and you start a business after purchasing it for $1.
Yep.
So take us through a number of other entrepreneurs watching. How did you go from you buy the business for $1? What are your next steps to, because right now you are an established business, significant, employing dozens of people. How did you go from there to here?
So I didn't know anything about acquisition, and I think all entrepreneurs will tell you that there are levels to this, right? I just was like, I just want to make a difference. I want to make a change in my community, and so when I quit my job, my last corporate America job, what I did was I started going to the SBA every day like it was my office, and I started to meet people. Paul Taylor, who's fantastic, right there on the 33rd and 33rd Street area. I was going there every day. And I happened to run into somebody who was a subcontractor that I just, knew. And that person was in early childhood education. And that person was the person that actually brought this center to my attention. And so I didn't know anything about childcare. I didn't know anything about the business of childcare formally. But when I got introduced to the business, that's what I was interested in. I went to school for business. I know business. I love business. Like that was my interest. And it was a business and it was for sale. And when they said we found a buyer, I'm like, well, who is the buyer? And they were like, you. And I said, you guys look me up. I'm completely broke. Like I have no money at all. I am nothing. I don't even have a bank account for the first time in my adult life. And so when they sent over the proper paperwork to purchase a business, which again, I knew nothing about. I just scrolled to the bottom because I wanted to know how much was the business. Like, I just want to know how much am I going to have to borrow. I'm going to ask my dad for something. I'm going to ask my father for something. And so I got to the bottom and said $1. And I happened to be standing with somebody and I turned my phone around and went, what does this mean? They're like, I have no idea. And my mother's friend from school was a lawyer. I went to him. He read the contract and basically just said, like, don't screw this up. Like, this is an opportunity of a lifetime. And so I was like, okay, well, I guess we own the childcare center. Like, that's it. And so I came, again, not knowing anything. I didn't know the rules of childcare. I didn't know there was a COMAR regulation. I didn't know anything. But going through the process of purchasing a childcare center, which Mallorie will talk to you about, I'm sure, is just like establishing a new childcare center because you got to get a license in your own name. So you have to go through the process. So you really learn the industry as you seek a license for yourself. But really, that is how I came to own KidzStuff Childcare Center, which was formerly owned by Diacon Lutheran Services, who were in the area. They wanted to get out of the area, but they didn't want to leave a void in the community for childcare. So they were seeking a buyer that would continue the center in the community. And that was God's grace that I found out about the center and we purchased it for $1 and we've been here for almost 10 years.
Ooh, I mean, you talk about grace, like grace, mercy. I mean, you lit just, I mean, your story is just filled with all of these points of like these moments where like you get winks from God and all. I mean, it's just beautiful
Absolutely.
how you talk about. I mean, it's just inspiring. I mean, a couple
Mm.
of things I want to point out. One, you say you went to the SBA and used it like it was your office, really seeking out that technical assistance, that support. Second, you networked, right? So you wouldn't have known about this, but for the network that you gathered. And then third, talking through the process of licensing, learning how to build the business, the Comar regs, all of the diligence that you have to do, just excellent nuggets you just put out. How about you, Mallory? How did you go from you have an internship when you are 14 in Brooklyn at a place that's showing you how to do childcare, and now you have a business that has 25 employees? What was your path for that, starting that business?
Looks like I'm having some internet issues, but can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I moved here at 19. By the age of 21, I was an employee of the Kennedy Krieger Institute, where I believe I stayed for 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
However, my I do recall one of my cousins was caring for my children when I was working at Kennedy Krieger. And at one point, we decided it was time for them to go into childcare. So I enrolled them in their first childcare center, Kendisfield Learning Center, where she's now my godmother, is the owner. And she was providing care in her home, and
Mm-hmm.
but she was in the process of opening up a childcare center. So we watched her go through that whole process. Can't remember how long it took from the time we put them in there until the time she opened, but it was an amazing process to watch. And my coworkers at Kennedy Krieger, my godmother, they tell me now till this day, friends of the family, you always said you were going to open up a childcare center. You talked about it like every other day. And so her childcare center definitely motivated me to go out there and get my own. In December 2009, I attended the Maryland State Department of Education Child Care Center owner orientation, which was
Mm-hmm.
like, you want me to do what to open a child care center? So within a year, then you have my aunts in New York with their real estate agency and this passion for real estate that I also have. I'm always on LoopNet, Craigslist, looking for buildings. And I just so happened to find a building, apartment complex that was being advertised for office space. By this time, I had gotten creative. I stopped calling around asking if they were leasing a childcare center or if a childcare. I stopped looking for childcare centers. You had to look for office space, this space, multi-purpose space. And when I called Marble Hall, they told me that they were actually wanting to build a childcare center in their apartment complex and that they were looking for a tenant. So lo and behold, I ended up meeting with the management of Marble Hall, and they built me my first child care center in their apartment complex. They required,
Wow.
I can't remember, but I think it was either $15,000 down or $30,000 down. One way or another, we came up with the funds, and the center was built. Um, and I didn't have to go back to the orientation. We were licensed within a year of that phone call.
Wow. Wow. So I mean, just y'all are getting, I don't know who y'all your fans are out here today because everyone is giving y'all high fives throughout the chat. So I'm gonna give you all your flowers. Don't worry. Everybody keep putting them in the chat. I will make sure I get them to them. But let me say this. There are a couple of like huge nuggets you just gave in what you said. First, you talked about learning through watching someone else open their business and have that ability to really learn the process. Then your attendance at really the um the licensing body, understanding the orientation, going to that orientation, investing in the infrastructure of your business. I think are just powerful nuggets because many people think you just open your doors, right? They don't get to see all of that back end work that y'all did to get to this point of your business. So let me ask you this, is building off of that, and I'll go next to Angela. um, you went into this business with a passion for the parents, a passion around uh, the children. How is that, now you own the business? How is that growth process? Take us through that as an entrepreneur. How have you? And we talked a little bit about it before the show, but talk about that process of, you probably would touch, I know it's nap time. I was asking for her to bring a kid in, but she said I get in trouble because it's nap time. But how do you get closer to the children, and then being a business owner? Just talk about that paradigm.
I came in with a passion for business, for ownership, for leadership, like just to be able to run a business. And then, as you grow in your entrepreneurial journey, you want to be the best in whatever it is that you're doing. You want to set a mission, some vision. What are you going to accomplish? What are you going to do with this? And that is the drive behind. Okay, so what are you supposed to do with children? Okay, what's the part that you play? What's the part that the parent plays? What's the part that the employee plays? And so then you begin to develop, like, okay, well, that's when we learned, or I learned, oh, the most formidable years are when they're birth to 5. Well, what does that mean? That's when they grow. Okay, well, how are we supposed to grow them? So then you really start to develop like these plans and your goals, and what's going to be the end goal. So for us, school readiness is the end goal. We want to make sure that children graduate from our program and they're ready to participate in the kindergarten curriculum. And so that's how the passion really started to kind of take a shape of its own, to go, okay, we want to be the best at sending kids to school. We want to make sure that when they leave us, we have this reputation of, if your kids go to KidzStuff, they're ready to excel when they get into the kindergarten program. They can pass the pre-K test and maybe skip pre-K and go into kindergarten. So really, once I got into the business and I began to understand what childcare is for, and we want to start using better language, not just childcare, but early childhood education. Once I really started to understand what that was all about, that's the thing that started to drive my passion. I want to have the best teachers. I want to have the best communication with the parents. I want to have the best center. I want it to look like this, feel like this. I want the kids to get this from the program. And then when they leave, they have all this foundation laid to be the best that they can be. So I think just once we decided what the mission of the organization was going to be, the passion started to kind of come from there.
No, I think a really good points about you talking about that education component of the work that you are embarking upon. And I take it to Mallorie, because you have hashtag seed behind you, which is an acronym. But can you talk a little bit about that education component, and also what sort of, how have you framed, or how has your journey been from being closest to the kids and now being really the catalyst for the business, the driver of the leader of the business?
Keyword foundation, just like Angela said, like she said, once she defined her mission, for us, it was once we defined our core values, which are support, education, empowerment, and dedication. We believe that children are like flowers. So whatever you pour into their foundation, however much you build them, that's what they will. So we're the foundation for the children, the families, as well as the community, making sure that children, definitely are ready for kindergarten, but that we're preparing them to be thinkers, learners, innovators, foundation for families, making sure that they, are prepared to be lifelong advocates for their children and their child's learning, and a foundation for the community. Like, we are continuously trying to build on the community, making sure that we can build strong partnerships and just be that beacon for the community where people can come and find jobs and quality childcare, for their families. But as far as relationships with the children, definitely trying to remember to make time to be present, because I'm here. Like, a lot of owners aren't in their centers every single day. I'm here all day, every day. but that doesn't always mean that I'm on the floor or in the classroom. So I sometimes have to be reminded, make sure you go, take a walk throughout the building. And sometimes I don't have to be reminded because I love my center. I love the children. I love my staff. So, but I
Yeah.
definitely you have to be present.
Now both of you are, and I think it's coming through completely here. You love children. They are, when we had our pre-show conversation, it was all about people. I don't know if you could tell, you became bright lights when you talk about people. But how did people, this is an industry that is not common. It's rare, right? And so how did your friends and families respond to your decision to become childcare professionals? We received that a couple of times in the chat. So I'm going to pose that to you. And were they like, oh, this is, yes. So Angela, when you said, well, you didn't, you were going into a business, but what was the response to your decision to go into the childcare industry or early childhood education industry, rather?
When I initially quit my job, which was so surprising, my father was like, why you quit a job? You don't have a job. What are you doing? And I was so shocked because you're an entrepreneur. Like, what are you talking about? So, I guess for him, it was that concern, like, this is hard. Like, you have no idea that this is going to take a lot. It's not magic. It's not overnight. And just him being a father, just being protective, some of my family and friends were like, yes, we knew you were always going to do it. Like, yes, this is what you were, made to do. And then some people were like, yeah, I'm not built for that. That's just crazy. And then once I got into education, the good thing for me, which I'm so blessed, is that I have family who are in education, retired ISTs, retired teachers. And my mom was an at-home provider. And so she's here every day, which I'm very grateful for. She's on a van right now. Yes, I'm very grateful for that. And so they have been so supportive. That has been so helpful because they've been so supportive in the process, helping me with creating, just the policies that we breathe and, live by every day. And so that support has just, allowed me to be extremely successful. I think that for my core circle, they really didn't care what business it was. They just were like, yeah, whatever you want, we got it. Like, we're good. And so that I don't have any adverse, reaction besides that initial, like, what are you doing? You quit a job? You don't have a job? Besides that, they've been extremely supportive.
Excellent. Mallory, you said that when you were working at Kennedy Krieger, your friends and family said, you always say you want to open that childcare center, but tell us, what was their response to when you actually took the leap, quit the job, and started the childcare center?
So I actually started the childcare center a couple of years before I quit my job to come on full time for the childcare center. So when I started the childcare center, they were excited for me. Everyone was like, finally. But I don't think it was until I actually quit my job at Kennedy Krieger for people to like really realize, like, this is it, this is what she's doing. And when that happened, I got lots of congratulations, and I'm so proud of you, and you said you were going to do it. And that job at Kennedy Krieger, I tried to hold on to for dear life, but like they allowed me to work from home. I was working at the center doing my job for them. Then they promoted me to a night shift supervisor, and I held on to that for a while, but it wasn't meant to be. So I was meant to be at Inheritance Academy, and that's where I've been since I left Kennedy Krieger.
Excellent. Now, I think that leads me to this next question, which has been posed a number of times by folks watching. And thank you all for your questions, your shout outs. I promise I will get to all of them. I keep them coming. I will lead them into the conversation, but you both have tremendous teams. And if anybody, if you two are poster childs for why entrepreneurship matters, you have families in our community that are able to thrive, not just the children who attend, but the folks who are employed by you. So how did you go about building your teams? This is, it's not just like getting someone, it's a very personal business. So how do you build your teams as business owners? I'll start with you, Mallory, and then Angela.
So to be honest, I Okay, and I believe in 2016, I began a coaching program with the Chris Murray Childcare Success Academy. And I learned a lot about identifying my core values during that time. And it took a lot for me to develop trust because I did not have much of that. And over the years, I've definitely learned to trust more and to release more of my business. And in doing so, like, things have definitely changed amongst my team. I have an outstanding team overall. My leadership team is phenomenal, and I would not be able to, have this level of success, this level of confidence, without their support. So I'm grateful for my administrative team, as well as my team of teachers and support staff. But I learned over the years, because again, at one point I was all about the parents.
Sure.
They'll tell you, the staff will tell you, the parents will tell you. My motivation was the parents, my focus was the parents. And I had to realize, like, you can't achieve anything with the parents if you aren't pouring into your team, if you aren't making sure that your team is happy, cared for, and motivated. So that's
Good.
always going to be my priority, making sure that my team is happy.
No, it's such a good, I think it's a good lesson for all the entrepreneurs on, right? You have core business, right? And that team allows for you to accomplish core business, right? And so their happiness and their success. I mean, Angela, how did you go about? You almost have similar size organizations. How did you go about building your team, and what's sort of your maintenance strategy around keeping your team great?
Lots of trial and error. When I came to KidzStuff, they already had a teaching staff.
Ah,
Um, there was already an environment set. Um, it was a pretty toxic environment, and I'm just not a toxic person. But coming into an environment, I didn't understand how to turn a team over. Like, you can't just go in and go, everybody out. We're just gonna start over. We have ratios we have to keep. We have children we have to care for, and so it was a swapping out. Like, this person is not good for our core values. They don't share the same vision. This person needs to go. We're going to hire somebody new. And like Mallory, it took a long time to release um, a lot of the responsibility to the team. But over time, with lots of coaching, just really beginning to hire the right people and beginning to pour into them, understanding that I might be the boss on paper, but they work with the children. It's
yeah.
them who educate them. It's them who directly care for them. It's them who, making sure that they're safe. And so pouring into them gets us the ultimate, outcome. But
Yeah.
really, the dynamic for us is in this center. I like a family feel. So I want us to feel like family. I want us to, respect one another. I want us to care for one another on and off. So we have, lots of extra activities outside of work, lots of pouring into them, just random, I appreciate you guys. Everybody's getting lunch today, just building, just really pouring into them. And then recently, just lots of training, hiring people to come in and just train them and to make sure that they're the best. So I think once you pour into your team and you just put lots of resources into them, they really give you like great outcomes in the end. And then I don't have high turnover. Like the girl that I hired the day that I came, she's still here.
Mm,
She still works here. My management team, they're still here. I give them lots of opportunities to make lots of decisions. I give them the opportunity to make mistakes, to redeem themselves, to make suggestions, to make new rules. Just giving them the opportunity to buy in. And that wasn't always my way. My way used to be, oh, that's what we're doing? Okay, everybody, let's do it. I didn't believe in the whole, you got to get them to buy in. But now, through lots of coaching for me, I understand, like, you have to get them to buy in, like, talk to them about the idea, give them opportunity to give their input in order to create the kind of team that you want. And so I like the dynamic of some old, That's not the proper word. Sorry. Some senior staff, and then
Seasoned.
yeah, seasoned. I like
Veterans.
that idea because they give they give the infants, that love and those extra hugs and that. But then you need the new generation that's coming up behind them, and so I like the idea of mixing the two together in the building. I think it's one of the better dynamics for working with children.
No, absolutely. And I mean, I think both of you, and you talk about your team and the interrelatedness between all of it, right? So it's not one or the other, it's the and, right? It's the genius of the and rather than the tyranny of the or. But let me shift us into a question that's come up a few times, which is around COVID. And let me say, there are a few industries that were front and center in COVID. I would say grocery stores, healthcare facilities, schools, and childcare centers. You all were the front line. And so talk a little bit of how you dealt with March 13th, an order coming out, and then thinking about, Mallory, you just been in your business been in your new location for about, I guess a couple of months or maybe even a year. But how did you deal with COVID? And take us through that. There are many entrepreneurs who dealt with that, but you all unique experiences. So talk to me about that. I'll start with Mallory and then Angela.
As you stated, when COVID happened, we had only been in our new facility for about 4 months, maybe 3 months. And at first, of course, we thought it was a thing, a month or two, that we would need to close and figure things out. But, once things started really progressing and COVID became a national pandemic, there was a lot of fear. And to be honest, I wasn't so sure that I wanted to remain open during COVID. One of my leadership team members, our director, Ms. Sharita, she actually, she took on the lead role to be the COVID care director. And that helped me. It definitely, calmed my spirits and my fear. We were able, most of our team members, they actually decided not to work during COVID. So we had to reduce the amount of children that we cared for during that time. Eventually, we were able to, create a plan and a program that was successful. We had approximately 40 children when we were licensed for 150 children. We, the team members who didn't feel comfortable working during COVID, we allowed them, to not work and ensure them that their positions would be available if they decided to return. Thinking that most of them would return in September. Lots of them did not. And for once in the lifetime of inheritance, we had a staff shortage. We also don't have a high turnover. Most of our staff have been here for 5 years or more. And COVID definitely gave us an experience that we had never had before. Having to hire for more than 3 positions at one time was not, that was not our norm. But it was an experience and we bounced back from it. We are actually almost fully enrolled again. And we're glad that things are calming down and that COVID is trying to disappear.
I think it's really helpful that you talked about, you assigned someone on your team, took on the role of dealing with COVID and dealing with just the changes, which I think is just so wise for you to do. And really, I think in many ways, as you talk, I was thinking, man, that really positioned her to be able to come out of the storm. How about you, Angela? How did you think about COVID? March 13th happens, shut down. What was the journey like for you?
So we closed our doors for the first time since I had been here on March the 25th, and we didn't reopen until June the 8th. So there were some rules within early childhood education that prevented some people from operating during COVID. Like we have an open floor concept. And so according to the health department, that meant that this was one big classroom instead of 10 classrooms. So we only were able to operate one classroom in the building, which financially just doesn't make sense at all. And so we made a decision to close. We laid everybody off except for the administrative team. Everybody went home all the families went home. We pivoted a little bit toward the parents via Zoom, offering parent classes and things of that nature, just to try to keep in touch. Went old school, wrote letters to my kids in the mail, sent them out for them, stayed in touch with my staff, gave them some in-service training, things of that nature to kind of keep them close. But then we had to just really sit down and develop a plan about reopening during COVID. What does that look like? Now, mask mandates, parents can't come in, you got temperature checks, you got to have thermometers, you have the things you didn't have before, and new rules, and all kinds of things came down for early childhood education. And people found out that with early childhood education is a critical business for the infrastructure of our country. All of a sudden,
Yeah.
you knew that you needed childcare for frontline workers to stay at work, right? And so the light, started to shine on early childhood education, and probably in a way that it should have prior to, but grateful for the attention now. And so we made a plan, and we began to slowly, bring families back, slowly bring staff back into the center. And so we went from like 117 kids prior to COVID down to like 40 children, when we opened. So we're back to about 80% capacity, but shorter work hours, just because of now the new requirements for how children can be in the building, and you have to close if there's a suspected case or if there's a positive case of COVID. So lots of things have affected our bottom line and affected just the way that we work. And then everybody across the board in Maryland, across the country, is short staffed in early childhood education. People are not returning. They're afraid, their own family needs, whatever. We're having, I think in Maryland right now on Indeed, there are like 800 and some early childhood education positions available. Wow. And so like Mallorie, instead of hiring for just one, we got 5 positions open, right? But we were very fortunate that during COVID, we were able to purchase a commercial property. And so now we're opening a second center. And so there were some things that came about. Yeah, there were some good things that came about. But there were some things that, COVID has forced us to do, some things that are never going to change. I'm never going to let parents come in the building in the morning again. We loved it the way it is now, right? It's been super fantastic for the kids. And so there were some things that came out of it that were good. And then some things that made like, this is the time, this is where the rubber meets the road. Are you an entrepreneur or not? And we've been able to, come through, and we're so grateful about that.
Excellent. Y'all are still getting shout outs. I'm going to give them all to you at one moment. They're just filling up the chat. Don't look at the chat. Don't look at the chat.
Okay, don't look.
But I'm going to give them all. I'm going to give them all to you. Let me ask you this, and we received this question a few times. What's your greatest accomplishment? You are 2 women who have accomplished so much. You're also so young. But you've accomplished so much. But in your minds, what is your greatest accomplishment thus far? Because what I'll claim for both of you, your best days are ahead of you. So what's the thing right now that you are like most proud of as business owners and as women and as entrepreneurs, as leaders in our community? So Mallorie and then Angela.
I want to say my mindset is my greatest accomplishment. I've definitely changed a lot and grown a lot over the last few years, and just trusting more and being able to, give more and focus more on growth is a great achievement for me. However, I cannot omit the fact that we were able to achieve $1 million in financing to purchase our home, our 15,000 square foot building in 2019. I cannot omit the fact that I located this property on my own without a realtor after months and months of searching, crying, seeking God. So it's my mindset, as well as our 5801 to 5827 Moravia Road location, that I would consider my greatest entrepreneurial achievement.
Well, you are in my neighborhood, which we are very happy that you are an anchor institution in our community. So you've accomplished all those things, but very, very happy that you are here with us. Angela, how about you? What's your greatest accomplishment thus far?
I think my personal greatest accomplishment is my ability to stay connected to my faith. I think sometimes as you grow and as you
Mhm.
develop and life gets hectic and responsibilities become great, you know, things that are dear and near to you can kind of, you know, get further and further in the rear view. But staying connected spiritually is my greatest accomplishment. Staying active in the things that matter the most. Because when all this stuff is over and this is
Yeah.
done, I can't take any of this stuff with me. You know, that has been my greatest, just to stay connected in my faith. And then in business, I think the greatest accomplishment is that I just get to do it every single day. Like they say that businesses fail in the first 5 years, and
Yeah.
to have established an organization with my co-founder in 2010, and to be here in 2021, you know,
Wow.
I'm so grateful for that alone, that we make literally every 2 weeks when it's time for payroll, I just be like, God, thank you again. Like we did it again. You know, so just staying just grounded to those very small things. Like I am responsible for 25 families that depend
Yeah.
on me to be responsible,
Yeah.
to not swindle money, to, you know, make sure that the lights are on and the door can be opened, and, you know, supplies are here, and when they go to get paid, you know, their money is in their account. So that those are my biggest accomplishments, that, you know, they can depend on me to be a good leader. And then to learn how to expand the business, and to go, okay, guys, we're going to do this again. We're going to keep this, and we're going to do this again, and we're going to employ some more people, and we're going to help more families. I think those two things would be, you know, my greatest business accomplishment.
No, it's refreshing to hear how you all think as owners about the families, not only the children that you get to work with, but the families of those who you have as your employees. I saw a line with that in your vision. Let me ask you this question, which a couple of folks, I'm gonna give y'all all the names of the people who've been shouting y'all out. What was the moment when you realized, well, we received this a couple of different ways, but I'm going to say it in the way the last person said, what is the moment you realize this is worth it? This is actually worth all of the time and the exertion of energy and what I'm putting in. Is there one moment that comes to mind of saying, I am glad I am on this journey at this point in time? Mallory, what would you say? Is there a moment that stands out for you?
There is a moment, I don't recall exactly when it happened, but seeing my signature at the bottom of one of my employees' paychecks was that moment
Mm,
for me. And when that happened, it was like, this is it. Like, you have to continue. This is what you have to do, because you're not only providing for the, like you said, you're not only providing for the children and their families. Once someone decides to be a part of your team, you're now responsible in a way, you know, for their family as well. So that was definitely the moment for me, and it keeps me motivated to keep inheritance going, and, you know, keep inheritance successful.
yeah, yeah. How about you, Angela? What would you say is a moment where you said, "Yep, this is worth it. This is what I'm supposed to be doing."
I think the first phone call that I ever received from a parent to say, my kid is doing great in school.
Mm,
I, I think that will forever be a jumping point for me to go, I need all kids to do great in school and leave this program.
yeah.
I need all kids to be successful when they leave the program. And that is my driving, just like force to go. When they leave here, I want to know that they have been set up for success,
Mhm.
period. And so from my friends who have entrusted their children to my care, family members, strangers, referrals from new parents, when that started to come in consistently, I don't know what y'all doing over there. My kids doing great in school. stopping by, like, look at him, Miss Angela, he's so big, he's so and so. You guys did this. When educators put their children in the program and they go, I ain't read to them that one time. That's everything that y'all did. That's how they doing good. That's what it is. Those are the moments that make me go, this is what I was born to do.
What surprises you most, both about entrepreneurship, this and about the industry, and you've been in it over a decade, both of you. What surprises you about being an entrepreneur, being a business owner? What's one thing you would say people don't know anything about this, but this is something that just continues to come up? Angela, what would you say? What's something that surprises you?
There are levels to this thing.
Levels.
When you first jump off, you go, yes, I'm out there. They say, like, what you do? I work for myself. But when you really dig into entrepreneurship, the same skill that it took for you to get in is not the same skill you need to stay. It's not the same skill that's necessary to grow. It's not the same skill. Your skill level has to continue to go from one level to the next level to the next level. You cannot be prideful in entrepreneurship. You don't know from one day to the next what's going to take place. No 2 days look the same, right? And so for me, I think that that's my surprise all the time, is that there are levels to entrepreneurship, and that we should encourage new entrepreneurs to get in, right? But to continue to let them know, like, all right, you got in, you good, you got your first check. Okay, you got to get to the next level. You want another check? You want more people? Like, you want this thing to grow? You need some, and that's one of the things that the 10 KSB program definitely did for KidzStuff Childcare Center, is just to give me another level of knowledge, another level of skill, so that we can continue to expand it. And then particularly to this industry, and this is something that Mallory and I talked about offline, is that this is a tough industry to get in, especially young and Black. This is a tough industry to get in. There are a lot of clicks in the industry. It's not always so supportive when you first get in. You got to kind of fight your way in, like, I'm in here and I'm not leaving. And so, I think those are two things. Entrepreneurially, there's levels to this. It's not just day one. Like, you got to keep growing in order to keep growing. And then just in the industry itself, particularly for African-American females, it's a tough business.
No, I think a couple of things. One, just saying about the challenges, but I think what you said was so poignant. What got you here will not take you there. And understanding that you have to skill up. I try to stress with my team and young mentees, your growth, because the world will change in a minute, and you'll be irrelevant. You won't be able to compete at that level. Just great points to for everyone listening. How about you, Mallory? What surprises you about entrepreneurship, the business, the industry?
I would have to say that I'm surprised most by the childcare industry, and how we respond to each other. I feel like if more childcare owners had confidence in their niche, and they identified their program's uniqueness, then we would come together more, and that we would, collaborate more. We would be stronger for the communities. Like, we all do great, but I don't feel like we come together as much as we should, because we're looking at each other as competition, when in reality, your program is suitable for some families and your program is not going to be suitable for other families. And once you identify what it is about your program that families love, you build on that, that's how we grow. And I think that we should spend more time, encouraging each other to find that about some owners, I guess, or programs have not identified that. So they're just providing childcare. So that would be what surprises me the most, that there isn't that confidence or uniqueness across some of the programs.
No, I think that's a good point. Something I wouldn't appreciate about sort of the industry. Let me ask you a question. I got a comment. Somebody wants me to ask the Oprah question. Don't worry, I'm getting to the Oprah question. I was checking to make sure she was watching. She's watching tonight. So Oprah's watching, and she wants to know, and some other investors want to know. I know, way better. Go ahead. She wants to know, what could someone at Oprah's level do to support more businesses like yours to flourish, to have 50 employees, 50 families in our community thriving because they work with you? And what could, people who are not Oprah, not at that level, you said there are levels to this, not at that level, financially, but what can we do to be supportive of your businesses, making sure you continue to thrive? So Angela, I'll start with you and then Mallory.
I say the first thing is mentorship. I think sometimes we undervalue that. And while all of us in early childhood education at the end of the day just need finances, we just do, right? Because we need it to support our staff, to grow them, to offer them a livable wage, to be able to handle the business side of early childhood education. We all need finances, but the mentorship from particularly African-American women that run large businesses and are in, even in other industries, just to help us to, grow intellectually in business. I think that would be the first thing that I would say, like, sometimes it's hard to get to somebody to mentor you, right? So to reach down to say to us like, hey, I saw you, I'm interested, and what can I do for you, in this particular area to grow your skill? So that would be my first thing. And then in early childhood education, and it's the buzz everywhere right now, we're all over plastic everywhere, right? It's one of the most undervalued industries in our country. And so many of our workers are living in a poverty level themselves. And so we need, an infusion of finances to, attract better people to our industry to work with our children. We need an infusion of finances so that we can be in, buildings that are healthy for us to serve children and to provide services for families. And so that infusion of finances would allow us to be a more attractable employer to people. And so those are the things that we need, in this particular industry, working with the people that we work with.
Excellent. I think Oprah's probably taking notes, probably like, how am I going to call Congress and figure that? Mallory, what would you say? What's your points? I think, brilliant, and I think really concrete things that we all can do. Mallory, what about you? What do you say Oprah's asking you?
I 100% agree with Angela. Mentorship and financing the early childhood education industry nationwide is underfunded. And we do need to be able to provide our employees with more livable wages. We do need to be more attractive and more, to build on the quality of our programs. And we can't do that without the funding. Like, we are going through hoops and loops to build on the quality of our program. And a lot of times we're doing that with, private funds, and it's requiring us sometimes to charge our families more than we want to be able to pay our staff what we want to. And the funding, the financing is definitely something that we need across the board. I'm grateful that there is a grant that's about to be distributed across Maryland, for childcare centers, and that grant is 100% going towards my employees so that I can increase their wages more and just make their lives a little better. I can't pay them what I would love to pay them, but it will be $2 to $3 more than what they're making now. Right. So financing, mentorship is definitely what we need in this industry.
That's great. And I think both of you, your focus on people is evident in what you asked Oprah for, right? And it's centered around, so I love your hearts and appreciate your hearts for people. Let me make sure everyone, you are going to see in the chat as well as on Facebook, every way to get back in touch with Mallory and Angela. Let me give Angela, how can people get in touch with you? How can they sign up? How are they going to get in touch with you?
You can call us at 410-728-0652. We still like to talk to you. You can call us, but you can also find us on all social media outlets, KidzStuff, KidzStuff, Childcare, Instagram, Facebook, and on our website, KidzStuffChildcare.org.
Excellent, excellent. How about you, Mallory? How can we get in contact with you?
We love phone calls as well. Our phone number is 443-840-9077. Our website is www.inheritanceacademy.org. We're on Instagram as Inheritance Academy, as well as Facebook as Inheritance Academy.
Okay, so I'm gonna give y'all all the shout outs. Y'all got Wendy Fickley. That's your sister?
That's my sister.
Oh, she's been taking over the chat. She's never tired to hear your story, and she's giving you big shout out. Crystal Scott Harris. Whose sister is that? That yours, Mallory? Somebody else.
What's her name?
Crystal Scott Harris. She's giving
Oh,
you
no,
shout outs.
that's a family friend. No, that's my family friend.
Robin Scribner, so proud of you. So proud of Inheritance Academy. Krista Chappelle, so happy for both of you. Beautiful stories later from Rita Love. What an amazing openness center in an apartment complex. Profound, amazing idea. Lisa Taylor, making a better learning developer, you both are great examples. Loving how you center on education. Just a lot of like high fives of you're awesome, both of how you solidified. So you have testimonials in the chat about how you solidified different families in our community. It's really beautiful. I might have to like just put this out, put it in a frame, give it to y'all, because it's nice to get your flowers. People loving you, love your mindsets, congratulations on Moravia. So thank you. You getting a lot of love, and thanking you for your transparency and your willingness. I'm going to give you this one. Someone said, just want to thank you ladies for your transparency and willingness to share your ups and downs. Praying God's continued blessing, covering and blessings over you. So for both of you, that's for both of you.
Amen.
Let me close this out. You're welcome. We have really been blessed to have you both on today. Let me close us out and get you back to those kids. They're getting up from their naps. Nap time's over, almost over. So we will return next week with our 50th episode on June 29th. Tune in. We're going to have two local wine companies. So come and drink with us. You do not want to miss it. Follow us on JH Connects on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Email us feedback, jhconnects@jhu.edu. Thank you, everyone who's continuing to give us entrepreneurs and recommending entrepreneurs to be featured. We are almost booked through January. So really, really excited about that. Thank you to our partners, Johns Hopkins University, Johns Hopkins Health System, Hopkins Local, the Mayor's Office of Small Minority-Owned Women Business, the Warnock Foundation, Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business, and Bloomberg Philanthropies. Thank you, Mallory. Thank you, Angela. Thank you all for watching, and we appreciate all of your support. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.